Rotary minasan, konnichiwa. Catherine Strong desu. Hi everyone. If you don't know who I am, my name is Catherine Strong, and this past school year I went to Japan for 8 months through Rotary. So today I'm going to talk about that. So ever since I was in middle school and I started watching Japanese cartoons, I really loved Japanese culture and I always wanted to go there. So I started studying Japanese my freshman year of high school. You can see there are some pictures of me here from when I was watching anime very frequently. There's me taking pictures with my sister at a Japanese photo booth machine. That's me in a Japanese garden, and then me in front of one of the Japanese alphabets. So eventually I did get to go to Japan when I was 15 through the short-term program with Rotary, and that is me and my host sister Reina, and then she came to America for a month and stayed at my house. So on August 18th, 2019, I took about 14-hour plane ride from Detroit, which is where I flew out of, to Nagoya, which is right near Yokkaichi, which is where I stayed. First, I'm going to talk about my travels when I was in Japan. One of the very first things I did when I got to Japan was go on a trip with Rotary. The first place we went was Hiroshima. And we got to see the Hiroshima Peace Dome, and we went to the Hiroshima Peace Museum. We also went to the island off of Hiroshima called Miyajima. It's most famous for the giant torii, which is a gate that is in the water, so you've probably seen that, but unfortunately when I was there with Rotary, it was under construction, so I don't have any pictures of it. I do have a picture of me with one of the deer that live on the island though. Later, I went to Kyoto, which is one of my favorite places in Japan. I think it's so beautiful. If you look at these gates, these are also torii. And these are famous because there are 1,000 of them at this shrine. It's called Fushimi Inari Shrine. And it goes up the mountain and down the mountain. I just went halfway up because I couldn't make it all the way up the mountain. And Fushimi is a really popular god in Japan, the fox god. And so that's what the temple is for. You can also see just the view of Kyoto from the mountain, and the streets are gorgeous. And then that's shaved ice, which is one of my favorite Japanese desserts. Towards the end of my stay, I went to Nara, which is famous because deer just roam the temple grounds, Nara Temple. So there's a picture from when I was 15, one of the deer, that was in the summer, so that's why they have antlers, but this one over here doesn't have antlers from when I was there recently. I went with my last host family. They were really nice. And they also took me to this big rock, which is famous because it's like a very ancient rock. And it's a tomb. And the thing is, nobody knows how they got the rock on top of the hole because it was so long ago. So I got to see that. Now I'm going to talk about my cultural experiences. I think I've been to Japan before and kind of been immersed in the culture just purely by having such an interest in it. But there was definitely a lot of cultural shock, especially with social things. And I think a lot of my classmates and the people that I met had a bit of culture shock meeting me because I'm the very opposite of the stereotypical Japanese personality. I'm very loud and I'm very outgoing. But some of the things I participated in were wearing kimono. We're wearing kimono. You can see me wearing one around Christmas there. I also joined tea clubs, so we would make tea, and the little bird in the corner is a dessert that comes with the tea. You can also see me at school with my friends wearing school uniforms, but we've got these t-shirts on for the cultural festival, which basically for my school was the school shuts down for the weekend and everybody makes a cafe in their classroom. And my teacher, his name was Ushida, and Ushi is cow, so our cafe was cow themed. You can also see a New Year's decoration in this corner, and this is Onyuro-kun. He is the mascot for Yokkaichi where I stayed. He's a yokai, which is like a magical mythical creature. And the story is that there were tanuki, which are raccoon dogs, that were terrorizing Yokkaichi. in ancient times. So the people of Yokkaichi built this giant onudo, which means big monk, by the way. They built a giant puppet of him to scare off the raccoon dogs, and now they have a float of him every year at the cultural festival for Yokkaichi. Now I'm going to talk about food, which was one of the most challenging parts of my stay in Japan because I'm quite a picky eater. I like to think that changed a bit with staying over there, but I'm also allergic to fish. So I can't eat sushi and a lot of other really famous Japanese dishes. But I did find food that I liked, and these are my favorite Japanese foods. This is kakigori, which I mentioned earlier. It's shaved ice. It's so delicious. This is yakiniku, which isn't technically Japanese. I found out when I left Japan. It's just the Japanese name for Korean barbecue, but I really like the way they serve it in Japan. This is katsudon, which is basically fried pork with an egg on top and rice underneath. It's really good. And then matcha, which is green tea. I obviously went to school. School was very interesting because just because of the way that things worked out with the Japanese school year and people graduating, I ended up being in a class of first years, which meant I was 18 with a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds. That being said, I had a bit of a difficult time kind of connecting with the kids in my class because I was so much older than them. And the Japanese kids are very, very shy around foreigners. Some of them are mean, but most of them are shy. So I had a bit of difficulty, but I made some friends. You can see me in my school uniform, my summer school uniform with my friend Mana. And if you look down here, I'm with a seal. We went to the aquarium in Osaka, and that is my winter school uniform. I did manage to make some friends while I was there, mostly other exchange students and people I had previously known when I went to Japan. Here you can see me with my friend Bobby's. He was through a different exchange organization from Italy, and he stayed in my town. There's me and my friend Ben from Australia. He was a Rotary student, and a couple kids from the school in a town over. That's my friend Mitsukushi-kun. He's a very interesting guy. He took me to a Buddhist display at a museum. It was very interesting. There's me and Ben again. And then that is me with Reina, who stayed with me 2 years prior, and her mom. So unfortunately, my time in Japan was cut pretty short due to coronavirus. So I had to leave on March 23rd. You can see me hugging my friend Kanan goodbye, me with all the Rotarians from Japan. And I really like this little Pikachu sign that they had in the airport. And I ended up buying a lot of plushies in Japan. I really like cute things, and I really like stuffed animals, and they have a lot of those in Japan. So that is one section of one of my suitcases. I had 3 that was just completely filled to the brim with plushies. So even though I'm really sad that I had to leave early, I do think it was the best thing to do considering, you know, the national climate and the pandemic and everything going on. And I'm really, really grateful that I had this opportunity from Rotary to be able to go to Japan, which is a place that I love so much, and learn so much about myself. Because there are a lot of periods of, you know, isolation, whether it be through, you know, language barriers or the quarantine that I had to go through in March because of coronavirus. So I think I learned a lot about myself through learning about this other culture. And I would just like to thank you for letting me have this fantastic experience. I think I've matured a lot as a person from it, and I have Rotary to thank for that. So thank you so much.